If you're a new real estate agent, this is the video you want to watch. Are you wondering, should I join a team or should I go solo? In this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of doing either one of those, and then I'm going to talk about the road less traveled, the one that I took, and that has been very successful for me thus far. And after I'm done doing all that, I will discuss with you a little bit about Real, and if Real could be the brokerage for you. Remember, guys, there is no right or wrong path to take. You decide what works for you. We're all different ages, we're all in different phases of life, so we all have different needs here. Team might work for some, solo might work for others, and then the third option that I'm about to discuss could work for you. It all depends on what fits your life. Let's talk about the team pros. The number one reason people join teams is to get leads. Team leaders are seasoned and they usually have more money than you do. So they can go out and buy leads from Zillow or other lead companies, and then they give these leads, buyer leads. They don't usually give you seller leads. They give you these buyer leads to work, and you go out and you close them. So you're going to get leads if you join a team, which is great. Also, they're going to give you training. They're going to show you how to handle contracts, what their processes look like. They're going to show you all the ins and outs about selling real estate. They're going to have hopefully systems and a structure in place, and you're going to learn from all of that because you're going to be immersed in the successful operation of a real estate team. So that's going to be super helpful. They might also pay for marketing, your business cards. They might offer you some swag to bring out to buyers, that kind of thing. They are the wallet behind you. They're powering you through as you learn this whole industry. And another good thing to keep in mind too when you join a team is you might have a lower cap amount. What is capping? What does that even mean? Well, let's talk about that. Here at my brokerage, Real, we have a split. 85% of a commission goes to the agent, 15% goes to the brokerage. Once we've done many deals, 15%, 15%, 15%, 50%, and we reach a certain dollar figure, then we get 100% of our commission. This is known as capping. So if you are an individual agent at Real, you have to pay in your 15%, and then once you reach 12,000, you cap for the calendar year, and from that point forward, you take 100% of your commissions. Notice this is not in perpetuity, it's just for the calendar year. Now, if you're on a team, your cap is not 12,000, it's only $6,000. And if you're on a mega team, it's $4,000. So that's a benefit to joining a team. You have a lower cap amount until you make your 100%. Let's talk about the team cons. The first one you might not consider to be a con, but I kind of do. You don't learn how to depend on yourself when you're on a team because you're given leads, you're given all the support, and you don't really have to be accountable to yourself. You're more so accountable to the team. You have a crutch. What do they say? Things that start off easier usually get harder later on, and things that start off harder in the beginning get easier later on. You're taking the path of least resistance if you have a team because you're given a lot of support as you're starting off in your career. Again, I'm not passing judgment on the right or wrong way to go, but I'm just kind of pointing some things out to you. Whereas if you don't join a team, you are forced to learn how to generate business on your own. We all know that I like cold calling. I was trained to do it, and I've done it for many years, and I'm very passionate about it. But, lead generation comes in different forms. It could be you're really good at Instagram, TikTok, holding webinars, open houses, that kind of thing. So if you're on a team, you're not going to learn how to generate business on your own. They might do some coaching, but in general, they're going to give you the leads and they're going to expect you to work the leads. You're going to kind of feel like an employee because they're going to tell you where you have to be. Mandy, we have meetings every Monday at 8 a.m. Well, wait a minute. I got to take Johnny to school on 8 a.m. on Mondays. I don't know if I can make that. Well, you need to make it because that's what is required of the team. Oh, and by the way, Mandy, we need you to work open houses for the entire month, every Saturday, and then like 2 Sundays. Joe's got open houses. He's got a lot of listings right now, so we need you to be out there working them so you can attract some buyer clients. I don't really want to do that because I've got some commitments that's not going to fit my schedule. When you're on a team, you need to be a team player and do what they need you to do for the good of the team, not necessarily your best interest. They're going to tell you that if you work Joe's open house, you could potentially attract buyer clients, which is true, but that's your time, and now they're telling you how to spend your time because they're spending their money. They're investing in you, and you kind of got to do what they say. And they might actually require you to come into an office setting so that they can supervise you to make sure you're doing what they want you to do. So there's some control, when you're on a team. I interviewed with one team when I got my license, and I was told, I told them, I said, well, I like to call and try to get listings. If I get a listing, will that be my listing? And they said, no, that won't be your listing. It won't be in your name, but you'll get 30%. I think it was 30% commission on it if we sell it. And I was like, wait a minute, I know how hard it is to get listing appointments. I'm still learning how to close them, but I want to have some kind of attachment to that listing. They don't do that if you're on a team, if you're a new agent, or at least the team that I interviewed with, they wouldn't do that. I would have no connection to that seller, even though I might have nurtured that lead for a year or two, whatever. Once I hand that listing appointment off and they go and they close it, that's I'm not even connected to that listing, and that was a no-go for me. When you're on a team, you are using their brand. So if your team is Pink House Penelope Realty, you are associated with Pink House Penelope Realty. I mean, you're part of a team. That's the identity that they're going with, and you have to associate with that. Also, when you're on a team, they're giving you those buyer leads to work. Well, they're taking a big cut, usually about 50% for those leads that they're giving you. And this is in addition to the split that you're giving to the brokerage. These are general numbers. I never like to talk in absolutes. Every situation is different, but that's the general expectation from what I've heard. They take about 50%. You're going to have to do a lot of closings. You're going to have to be a high producing team member. Another negative I didn't like about the team setting, when I interviewed with them, they were like, we're going to need you to be here to commit to at least 1 to 2 years. And I understand that from their perspective because they're investing a lot of time and money into training, and they need to get some results. They need to see some money out of me. And I get that. But again, I didn't become an entrepreneur to have to be told, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to do. I don't want to feel like an employee. I understand they need that, but I didn't want to give it. So a team was not a good fit for me. Other reasons why I didn't think it was good, I don't have flexibility in my schedule right now. I've got some personal obligations that really only enable me to work part-time. So working people's open houses every weekend was not going to work for me. I mentioned earlier, I want credit for those listings. I work really hard to get those listing appointments. I really create relationships over the phone with my sellers, and I want to be attached to those listings because your sales today are going to help leverage you tomorrow. You're always selling your resume, your book of business. What have you done, Mandy? What have you sold? Well, once I'm attached to a listing, or I want to leverage that. And if I can't leverage these listing appointments, well, that's going to hurt me in the long run. So that's another reason why I didn't go with the team structure. And the last reason is I don't really believe in open houses. I know. I understand why people use them because it illustrates to your seller client, look at me, I'm working your open house. It's also good to attract buyer clients that are unrepresented. They're client magnets for people that are looking for buyer clients, but I don't like them for different reasons. I have a hard time at this stage in my life. I'm not a young 20-year-old anymore. I have a hard time doing what I don't believe in when I feel there's a better route. We all know I like to lead generate on the phone. I don't want to go to open houses and try to convert buyers. I mean, I've worked them before. I definitely have now that I've been in the business, but that's not my main source of lead gen. I don't want to do that, and that's a huge expectation when you're on a team, is that they want you to service the open houses for the agents that have the listings, and that was a no-go for me. So that's why a team did not work for me. Now let's talk about going solo. It's just you. You got your license and you're ready to go out and help people buy and sell real estate. I personally wouldn't recommend this option, but let's talk about it. What are the pros? To me, there's not that many. I've only got 4. The first one being you are in total control. You decide who you're going to work with, you decide when you're going to work, and you decide where you're going to work. No one's telling you what to do. You are nobody's employee. You are totally in control. So that's a good thing. Secondly, you don't have to work for Pink House Penelope anymore. You can create your own brand, your own identity, your own vibe. So that's kind of fun, right? If you're creative, you can brand yourself however you want to so that you can be authentic in your representation. So that's pretty neat. The next pro that I have for going solo is you are forced to learn how to lead generate. So you can try different types of lead generation. You don't have to go work those open houses. For Joe, you can decide that, you know what, I'm not going to lead generate with an open house. I'm going to work on my Instagram skills, or I'm going to hold buyer first time home buyer webinars. You're going to decide what your pillar of lead gen is going to be. Maybe there'll be different pillars, but you're deciding that. You decide what works for you based upon your personality. Lastly, you take full credit for your successes. If you get a listing appointment and you close that listing and you close the sale, you get credit for that. The listing goes in your name in the MLS, and you can leverage that sale when you meet with your next seller and you go to your next pitch. So again, this is all you. You're running your show. Those are the pros of going solo. Now let's talk about the cons. There are many reasons why I did not go solo when I first got my license. One of the biggest cons to me is that you are inexperienced when you just get your license. You don't know what you don't know. And I did not want my inexperience to hurt my clients, right? They're trusting me as their fiduciary. That is a huge responsibility. My client is always number one. I am a distant number two down here, right? I put their needs ahead of mine. That's super important to me. I am grateful for every client that I have, and I want them to win. How can I help them win if I don't know what I'm doing, right? That's one of the main reasons why I did not go solo. You also move slower when you are solo and a brand new agent. You don't have those systems, you don't have structure, you don't have checklists in place because you're learning, you're figuring out as you go along. So there's a lot more room for error. And you don't want to make mistakes when you're helping people buy and sell real estate. These are big purchases. Time is money too. So by the time you figure something out, you maybe could have sold two other houses, but you're just moving at a slower rate. The next reason, this is another super important reason, is if I tried to sell myself just to get in the door for a listing appointment, it would have been really, really hard because I know that I don't have those sales. Oh, this is great, man. I'd love to meet with you. What have you sold recently? Don't have sales, so that's going to be hard just to get in the door. And then once I get in the door, I got to compete with seasoned agents who have sold before. My chances of getting that listing go down drastically because I'm so inexperienced. And I know how hard it is to secure a listing appointment. If I can get in the door, I want to have a good chance of actually getting that listing because that's the other half of the equation that I need to figure out. Not having that resume is going to hurt me if I can even get that listing appointment selling it myself to the seller on the phone. When you're solo, you're isolated. You have no community around you. And they say you're learning a foreign language. It's best to go to that country where they speak the language so you can immerse yourself with other speakers of the language. You can pick it up quicker. It's the same thing with anything else that you're trying to learn. You need a community of people around you. So that's why the team environment is good. They're going to teach you. When you're solo, you are out on your own trying to figure everything out, one deal, one situation at a time, and it's very isolating, and that can hurt your morale as well because you're not as successful as you would be if you were around people, and you might want to leave the industry earlier than you should. When you're solo, you have no network. Like, let's say you get the listing appointment, you get the listing, but this house needs a lot of work. It needs some plumbing work, it needs some painting, and you don't know any plumbers or painters, so you start Googling, God, I hope this plumbing service does a good job, and I hope they don't overcharge my client. You're working with people that have a network of vendors and contractors. You have experience, and you know that they're going to do a good job because you've worked with them in the past. When you're solo, you're just kind of rolling the dice with the partners that you're having to work with to help your client, and that puts you in a very weak position, in my opinion. Lastly, another big con of going solo is that you've got to spend all of your money on marketing. Signs, photos, floor plans, video, everything's coming out of your pocket. And new agents usually don't have a lot of money. I know I fall into that category. I don't have the budget to do all that. So that's a financial risk that you take to spend all that money that you might not even get back when you're a solo agent. So the main reasons why I didn't go solo was because of everything I just talked about. The biggest one was I didn't feel ethical representing somebody not knowing what I'm doing, okay, whether it's on the sell side or the buy side. And then, also I need hand holding when I'm trying to learn something. I need to see somebody do it and model my behavior after theirs. And I wouldn't get that if I was a solo agent. So what road did I take? Everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Tiffany. She is my sponsor into Real, and she's also been my mentor. Kind of tell you a little bit of story of how we started working together. I started off, as soon as I got my license, I started off working at eXp Realty, and I was there for about 6 months, and I had a sponsor that was, I think, about 2.5 hours away from where I'm located. They were in my state, but they were a good distance from my local market. And they were very successful. They are a very successful agent, but they weren't here locally. And as I told you just a second ago, I learned from modeling my behavior after somebody else, and I didn't have that local presence. So I had decided that I was going to leave eXp because I wanted to change sponsors. To change sponsors at eXp, you have to leave the brokerage for 6 months and then return with a new sponsor. So that's what I was going to do. During that time, I had to make money, and that's how I connected with Tiffany. And I started doing some cold calling with her, and I decided that, I kind of liked working with her, but my goal was always to go back to eXp. But then after the end of the 6 months, I decided, you know what? Was just joining Real. I said, let me join Real with her, that we'll continue working together. So that's what I did. So she is my sponsor here into Real, but she's also my mentor. And this is how we work together. Because my background is in lead generation, I set appointments for us. I set the appointments after talking about her experience and her background. You may have heard me talking that way on some of my calls. We go into the appointment, we pitch together. I watch her in action. She will lead for the most part, but sometimes I will step in there as well. My confidence has grown. We've been working together for a couple of years now. Again, I only work part-time because of personal obligations, but I've learned so much working with her, and it's been a great relationship. So we pitch the appointments together, and because of her resume that helps me get in the door, and her ability to close the appointment, that's helped us take listings. She also does something that I really can't afford to do right now, is she pays for the marketing on the listing. So she's going to pay for the photos, the floor plans, everything like that. So she takes the financial risk. With that, we have a split that we've negotiated between us, and it really works out well. She has taught me so many things. I went to visit her at her first open house before we started working in this capacity, and she toured me through the house, and she just told me about things that I didn't even know about, like tankless water heaters, what's a transom, the little window over the door. I mean, all kinds of construction things that I never knew about, because until you actually get in the industry, you don't know these things. And I'm still learning, but I've learned a lot just by watching her assess houses. As we're walking up the driveway, she can look at the eaves and see, oh wait, there's a leak here, oh the siding's coming off. Like, I watch her notice things, so I'm learning just by being around her. It's been really helpful. We co-list together, so I learn from her because we're servicing the listing together, and I also get credit for the listing, which is important as you're trying to leverage your sales. She has the network of contractors that are now becoming my network of contractors. My goal in the new year is to start pitching on my own, which I'm excited about, but I will also still align with her for certain pitches because it's all about strategy, right? We want to secure the business. And if I think I can go in there and get it, I'll try to get it on my own. If I think I might not be able to, I'll probably bring her in, because at the end of the day, a percentage of something is better than nothing. This is a ramp up. We are learning and growing from the very beginning stages of just having our license to getting to the point in our careers where we're aspiring to get to. What are the negatives of working with Tiffany? Well, there really is only one that I can really pinpoint. And I knew about this negative when I started working with her, but it is what it is. She doesn't give me any leads. So I bring the leads in, and then she helps me close them, and then we service the client. So that's the way our business runs. And that's okay, because my background is in lead generation, and as long as I have that, I'll be fine on my own. And I know that now that I'm acquiring all the other skills that are necessary to be a good real estate agent. It's a great partnership. It's worked very well, and it's one that I don't think is talked about. I think it's, people are just, like, okay, team, solo, that's it. You can align yourself with a mentor who's going to bring everything that you're lacking as a new real estate agent, and you can bring in the business somehow, whatever your pillar of lead gen is. Again, social media, cold calling, whatever it is, that could be the way to go for you. Although this video is not about my brokerage per se, I did want to close with just a little information about Real. Real is a virtual brokerage, so we don't have any brick and mortar offices, although some teams might have that in various cities. We are located in every state in the United States, and we are in at least 4 Canadian provinces. There are about 30,000 agents at the Real brokerage. The splits are 85% to the agent, 15% to the brokerage, and then you cap once you've reached a certain amount. I really, really like this brokerage a lot. I like their platforms. I like their aura, which is work hard, be kind. I really like that sentiment. And as I work and service my clients, I feel like it's a good fit here. If you are looking to explore Real, I definitely would love for you to reach out to me. You can send me an email at coldcall.kickstart@gmail.com. We can get on a phone call. And something that Real does that is, I think they're the only brokerage doing it in terms of sponsoring. If you don't know what sponsoring is bringing an agent into the brokerage, and then if you bring them in, you can earn revenue share. So you can earn a little bit of every closing that they have while they're a broker at the brokerage. In the example of Tiffany, we have a negotiated split that we work on, but she also earns a little bit off of my closings in addition because she's my sponsor. If you're looking for a sponsor at Real, I could be your sponsor if you're in my local market, but if you're not, I could potentially be your co-sponsor. And this is what Real does. They allow an agent to be sponsored by two people. So I would love to teach you about cold calling and help you get ramped up with that. But if you're not in my local market, I can identify a couple of different agents in your market that you could interview with, and then they could possibly co-sponsor you along with me. So that would be a really good partnership if you're needing help with your lead gen, if you're a brand new agent. If you're a new agent, I hope you found this video to be helpful. If you have any questions about Real, please send me an email. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.